Have you noticed strange changes in the behavior of some elderly in your family? Something that looked small, but left a strange feeling in the air, as if he were saying goodbye in silence without saying a word? Careful. What may seem only age of age can actually be a deep sign that he is gradually disconnected from life. Many ignore these signs. They think it's just tiredness or old mania. But the truth is that the body and mind of the elderly often begin to emit clear, silent but extremely important signs that he is losing his will to live, moving away from the world, people, and even himself. And if you don't realize it now, maybe it's too late to reverse. Imagine your father, your grandfather, that neighbor who was always excited, starting to shut up. Suddenly he stops participating in the conversations, crumbs on old objects, spends hours looking at the void, as if he was reliving memories in silence. These behaviors are not random. They are part of a pattern that many older people demonstrate when they begin to say goodbye to life emotionally, even if the body is still here. In this video, let's talk about it in depth. Let's understand what is behind these attitudes that often go unnoticed even by close family members. And you will learn to identify silent signs, almost invisible but extremely revealing behaviors, which indicate that an elderly man is slowly disconnecting himself, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. If you care about your parents' health, if you want to make sure they have old age with dignity, love, and purpose, you need to watch this content to the end. This can completely change the way you see aging. You can even save lives. Many elderly people don't ask for help. They don't scream, don't complain, they don't say they're sad. They simply change. And that's exactly where the danger lives. Because when the elderly begins to do this, when he begins to isolate himself, to detach from everything, to act as if he was putting his life in order, it may be the exact moment when he is saying silently, "I am leaving." This message is not to scare you. It is to prepare you, to make you reflect. How many times have you stopped calling that special elderly? How many times did you think he was complaining too much when, in fact, he just wanted to be heard? How many times have you noticed that something was weird, but did you choose to ignore? What you will see below are real behaviors, frequent and extremely ignored in the elderly. Small attitudes that, when added, reveal a great alert sign. And if you are watching this video, it's because deep down, you've felt something was wrong. And that's exactly why you need to continue here with me. Because now, from this point, let's dive into the deepest and most painful signs that they indicate when an elderly person is saying goodbye to life, even if no one realizes. Before continuing, I want to make a very special request. If at some point in your life you have witnessed a strange behavior coming from a dear elderly, or even if you are going through it now, comment below. Share your experience. Your comment may not only help other people identify these signs, but also serve as a warning for family members who often do not realize what is happening right before the eyes. The truth is that talking about this topic is difficult, but absolutely necessary. Understanding what these behaviors mean can be the key to offering more love, more care, and more presence for those who are aging by our side. Because no one deserves to go through this phase of life feeling invisible, devalued, or worse yet, alone. And if this content is opening your eyes, if you are touching you somehow, then leave your like now. This shows YouTube that this subject is relevant and helps the video reach even more people who need to hear it. Also enjoy and subscribe to the channel. Here, you will find content that not only inform, but transform. All thought especially for those who really want to understand what happens to the emotional, physical, and mental health of the elderly, and what we can do to give them the decent and respectful life they deserve. Don't ignore this video. Don't think it's just another subject about senior. What you will find out may be exactly what you need to save a relationship, avoid greater suffering, or even prevent a silent farewell to become definitive. Let's continue. You have already noticed how suddenly that old man who has always been present in conversations, family meetings, even in the small details of the day-to-day, I would start to move away. Gradually, he stops answering calls, avoids meetings, no longer shows interest in visits or receiving any kind of attention. In the beginning, this may seem just tired, or even a desire to be quiet, which is normal over time. But the great truth is that this social recollection, this subtle and progressive removal, is often the first silent sign that something deeper is happening. It is not just about loneliness. It is about an internal process of dismissal, almost as if he were gradually saying goodbye to the world without wanting to alarm anyone. Many families confuse this behavior with bad mood, with age grinding, but it is not. When the elderly starts to stop responding messages, avoid celebrations, he says he prefers to stay at home alone, it is not just laziness or disinterest. It is an emotional symptom. It is as if he felt that he no longer belongs to certain environments, which no longer has the same space or relevance. This can even be a camouflage help, a silent cry for welcome. And ignoring this is a serious mistake, because this removal is often the tip of the iceberg of a depressive process, an early morning, an internal preparation to leave. Another sign that needs to light a warning is the sudden detachment of emotional value objects. Have you ever seen an elderly man start to donate old clothes, gifts you have kept for years, letters, photos, even items that had great personal meaning? In some cases, they say they want to leave things in order, or they are no longer useful for that. And that sounds innocent, but it is much deeper. It is as if they are organizing a kind of practical farewell to life, as if, consciously or not, they are preparing to be no longer here. There is no explicit pain in this gesture. On the contrary, often there is even a strange peace, as if this process made sense inside their head and heart. And this needs to be observed with great affection because, once again, what seems organization can be a clear sign of disconnection with life. Perhaps what cut the heart the most when they begin to verbalize that feeling. Phrases like, "I've lived what I had to live," "My mission is already accomplished, now just wait for the time to go," appear more often than we would like to admit. And the most painful is that these lines are often said calmly, almost resigned, as if they have already accepted something no one around is willing to see. These phrases are like open letters, as deep revelations of soul tiredness, not just the body. It is a type of pain that does not scream. It is a pain that is expressed in silence. It is in these moments that the alert should be maximum. The elderly may be smiling outside. It may seem quiet, but inside, it has already started to turn off, has already started an emotional closing process. Another powerful and often ignored sign is the loss of interest in activities that once generated pleasure. That elderly who loved walking every morning, who always took care of the plants with love, who eagerly waited for soccer games on Sundays. Suddenly, too, you no longer want to leave home, let the plants die, forget to watch the games, and the worst, you don't miss it, don't comment. As if what one day brought joy no longer made sense. And it's not just discouragement. It is a delicate emotional process where life loses flavor, things lose color. And this is also a symptom, often linked to depressive states or the feeling that life is coming to an end. It is as if the elderly are gradually closing cycles, but not by choice, but for feeling that his time is ending, even if no one around is prepared for it. These emotional and behavioral signs, when ignored, can lead the elderly to a state of deep isolation, silent pain, of withdrawal of life itself. And the saddest thing is that all this can happen next to those he loves most, and yet go unnoticed. This is why this content is so important. That's why you need to keep watching. Because if you recognize these behaviors on someone in your family, this video may be your alert. Your chance to act while there is still time, to reconnect, to demonstrate presence, affection, care, and above all, to offer the elderly what he may have already lost, the sense of continuing. Many times they don't want to die. They just no longer see reasons to live. And that's where our role comes in. Because it is precisely at this point that we can transform this silent farewell into a reunion with the will to live. And for that, we need to be aware. We need to see beyond the obvious. We need to hear what they are not saying in words, but they are shouting in attitudes. Now tell me, do you know someone who is going through this? Have you seen this kind of behavior inside your home, in your family, in your conviviality? Leave your experience here in the comments. If you have heard phrases like, "My mission has already been accomplished," or noticed detachment from objects, isolation or disinterest, write in the comments the phrase, "I've seen it happen." This can help other people understand that they are not alone. And if this content is opening your eyes, if you are playing something inside you, enjoy the video right now. This is essential for more people to receive this message. Sometimes the body continues, but the mind has already begun to say goodbye. This is one of the most painful phrases we need to face when we talk about aging and emotional health of the elderly, because the signs they demonstrate do not always come with explicit pain, with tears, with sad words. Most of the time they appear in gentle gestures, subtle behaviors, attitudes that only those who are really attentive can see. And behind all this, there are causes that go far beyond the simple passage of time. There is a complex web of emotions, memories, tiredness, and even clinical conditions that need to be understood in depth if we really want to help. One of the most common and dangerously ignored causes is depression in the elderly. And make no mistake, depression in old age does not always manifest itself in the same way as in younger adults. The depressed elderly often does not cry, does not speak openly about sadness. He shuts up. He isolates himself. He loses his shine in his eyes. He stops caring about things that were once important. The appetite decreases. The desire to go out disappears. Sleep changes. And along with all this comes a silence that is almost impossible to break. Many families think this is natural of age, which is even after old, but it is not. This is one of the most common errors, to think that apathy is part of aging, when in fact it can be a silent cry of deep depression, which has not been treated and is consuming the person inside. In other cases, what we see is a kind of vital tiredness, a feeling that the mission was fulfilled. The elderly looks at life, sees what they built, what is lost, what was left behind, and feels there is nothing more to be done. It is as if everything had already been lived. There are no more goals, no more projects. The feeling of emotional exhaustion takes over, and this can be even more dangerous than physical illness itself, because without perspective, without a reason to wake up, without mental stimulus, the person is surrendered. It is disconnecting. It ceases to exist gradually, even though it is physically present, and it hurts not only who feels, but who observes and doesn't know how to react. Another extremely important factor that needs to be spoken with all letters is social invisibility. Many elderly feel forgotten, discarded, as if they were no longer part of the world around. Technology advances, conversations change, the interests of younger people take care of everything, and that elderly who once was the family center becomes just one more in the house. Have you noticed how many seniors speak and no one listens? How are they trying to tell something and are interrupted, ignored, or treated with impatience? This is creating a hole inside them, a hole of silence, a space where the pain of loneliness even lives, even inside a full house. And that loneliness kills inside, because the human being needs to be seen, heard, valued. And when this is taken, especially in the most vulnerable phase of life, the impact is devastating. In many cases, the behaviors we mentioned so far may also have neurological causes. Dementia and Alzheimer's at an early stage often manifest with these same signs: isolation, mood change, memories detachment, confusion with personal effects, general disinterest. It is as if the mind begins to slowly erase its connections with the present, as if parts of that person's identity were slowly being undone. And the frightening thing is that at first this may seem just a strange phase, a forgetfulness here, a distraction there. But over time, the progression of these diseases reveals something more serious, more painful, and requiring specialized medical follow-up. And it's not always the body or the mind. Sometimes there is a spiritual weight involved, a deep feeling that the cycle is closing, that the time has come to surrender, rest, return home, not the physical house, but the inner house, the spiritual essence. Many elderly, especially those most introspective, begin to develop a goodbye sense that has no exact scientific explanation. They just feel, perceive signs in nature, dreams, in internal sensations that do not get explic, and this feeling, far from being negative, can come with intense peace. But even in this context, it is essential that the family is around, welcoming, listening, respecting, but also encouraging life until the last moment. All this emotional, neurological, and spiritual complexity behind the elderly behavior needs to be approached with sensitivity. It is not something that is resolved with ready sentences, generic advice, or passing distractions. It takes presence. It is necessary to listen. It takes real connection. The elderly man who begins to collect himself, to donate his things, to say farewell phrases, to disconnect from the world, are asking for attention. It is showing that something inside it has changed. And it is up to us, who live with these people, have the wisdom to perceive these signs before they become irreversible. And this is where the role of information comes in, the content it transforms, of collective consciousness. Because often, a simple video like this can be the watershed between ignoring behavior and saving a life. So it's so important that you are here, watching so far, because you are already making a difference just by seeking this knowledge. And if this content is awakening something to you, then I ask you, keep me, because we are still going to talk about how to really help, how to act when these signs appear, and what can be done to rekindle the will to live within an elderly man who seems to be saying goodbye in silence. And if you are feeling touched by all this, if you recognize someone in these words, I want you to comment here below, but comment true, with an open heart. Write something like, I understand what's behind. Or if you want to be even more straightforward, comment, I want to help before it's late. This will not only reinforce your commitment to this, but will also encourage other people who may be feeling the same, but have not yet had the courage to express. And now you have understood what is behind these subtle, silent, and often devastating behaviors that the elderly manifest when they start, little by little, to say goodbye to life. It's time to talk about something that can really transform this reality. Because yes, there is a way. There is a way to reverse this process, or at least soften its effects. And it all starts with the way you approach, how you hear, how you put yourself in the place of this elderly who, as strong as it may seem, can be emotionally fragile, feeling invisible, discarded, or just no more reason to continue. The first step is simple, but deep. Talk. But I'm not talking about a superficial conversation, those we ask, is everything okay? Just for education, and does not even expect a true answer. I'm talking about real conversations eye to eye, with time, with active listening, empathy. Most seniors carry amazing stories, memories that shape their lives, deep learning. And when you encourage this kind of dialogue, something starts to change. The brightness in the eyes reappears, the sense of belonging returns, and especially, they feel that they still have value, which still matters what they have to say. A simple, tell me how it was when you were young, can open emotional doors that had been locked for years. It is amazing how often an effective memory can rekindle a piece of the soul. In addition to listening, it is essential to reinforce effective ties. Create moments of true connection, an outdoor ride, prepare an old recipe together, review family photos, remember names and stories, write letters together, listen to songs that marked their youth. All of this may seem small, but for those who are feeling on the sidelines, forgotten, these actions are like drops of light. They are reminders that life still pulsates, that there are still reasons to smile, and you don't have to do anything great. The simple fact that you book quality time, show sincere interest, and be present with body and soul already causes a powerful transformation. But we also need to talk about professional help. As much as the affection of the family is essential, there are situations in which psychological support is indispensable. Many elderly people suffer silent, carry old trauma, recent losses, deep fears, and do not always have space or courage to verbalize it all. Encouraging the search for psychologists, therapists, or even support groups can make all the difference. And attention, this should not be done with imposition, but with love and welcome, showing that seeking help is not a sign of weakness but of wisdom, that it is possible to grow old with mental health, with balance, with emotional dignity. Many elderly resist this kind of help at the beginning, but with a sensitive and constant approach, they end up accepting. And thanks deeply for this opportunity of restart. And we must not forget the importance of creating or rescuing a purpose routine. One of the great factors that contribute to the emotional shutdown of the elderly is the sense of uselessness. When the elderly feels that he no longer has a reason to get out of bed, he begins to lose his connection to the present. And so it is so necessary that he feels useful. It can be simple, such as taking care of a plant, feeding a pet, participating in the organization of the house, giving advice on family issues, teaching something that dominates, or even helping grandchildren with school tasks. What matters is that he realizes that he still has something to contribute, that his presence makes a difference, that his experience is valuable, and that he remains an active part of that family or community nucleus. This reconstruction of meaning can be done together, asking, what would you like to do again? Is there something that would make you happy to resume? Sometimes the simple act of rediscovering an old hobby, such as embroidery, reading, gardening, written, or even some craft that has worked for years, is sufficient to rekindle the inner flame. It is also important to stimulate the creation of new habits, new welfare rituals, even small, an afternoon tea, a light walk every day, guided meditation, a time of silence with classical music. All of this helps to reorganize the mind and heart. The secret is in constancy. Create a structure, albeit simple, that returns to the elderly the feeling that life still has rhythm and that it is part of it, and something that cannot be neglected in no way is recognition. All of us, at any age, have an almost vital need to be recognized. Recognized by what we are, what we were, for what we can still be. And with the elderly, this is even more true, because they carry a story, a luggage, a legacy, saying to your father, to your mother, your grandfather or grandmother, you have been and still important in my life. I admire your trajectory. Thanks for everything you have done for me, can have a gigantic emotional impact. These words often heal internal wounds, undo invisible blocks, and especially reconstruct the bond between generations. You might even think this is obvious, that the elderly already know that. But maybe he needs to hear. Maybe he needs to feel it really once again. All these attitudes, when made with sincerity, love, and continuity, have the power to interrupt a cycle that could lead to total disconnection. You don't have to change the world or cure everything at once. Just be there day after day, offering your presence as a medicine. Sometimes the simple act of sitting next door and being silent is already a form of care. A touch on the shoulder, an unexpected compliment, a shared laugh, a rescued memory. Simple but meaningful things. And it is this meaning that helps the elderly to find reasons again to live, to continue, to feel that their existence still has space and purpose. And now that you have come here, tell me sincerely, can you think of someone who needs it right now? Does anyone who may be saying goodbye emotionally, even if you haven't noticed it before? If so, comment below. Write, I know someone who needs me. Or if you prefer something more straightforward, write, I'll make a difference. Sharing this publicly is a way of affirming your commitment to those you love, and also to encourage others to do the same. If you stayed with me here, it's because this content has touched you in some way, and that already shows how much you care about who is by your side. So now, do the following. You subscribe to the channel. Yes, click on the inscription button and activate the bell, because here we speak true in depth about themes that really make a difference in the lives of those who love, take care, and respect our elderly. And since you arrived until the end, comment below the phrase, I choose to take care of more love. Write this now. This phrase shows that you not only watched the whole video, but it is also committed to making a real difference. Your comment can inspire others to also become more attentive and more present in the lives of your parents, grandparents, and family. And of course, if this video helped you, leave your like right now. This simple gesture helps the video reach even more people who need to hear this message. And look, don't leave it yet. Already have a next video appearing here on your screen. Click on it now and continues this journey with me. The content there will complement everything you have learned here, and it may be exactly what you need to hear today. I hope you there.